So today we're doing a deep dive into a novel that poses this really chilling and essential question about American life.
Right. The question of what if that core belief that it can't happen here is just wrong.
Exactly. We're taking on Sinclair Lewis's 1935 novel, It Can't Happen Here. And our mission for this deep dive is to do a quick analysis, pull out the essential insights this story has about democracy, about human nature.
And it really is a kind of roadmap.
It is. So where do we start? What's the first big insight?
I think the book's greatest insight is how familiar the threat looks. Lewis is telling us that the danger wouldn't arrive in, foreign uniforms.
It's dressed up in plain folks' patriotism.
Exactly. The demagogue, Buzz Windrip, he's like the charismatic neighbor promising these really easy answers to incredibly complicated problems.
Well, he's championing the forgotten men.
Yes, but with a platform that is completely incoherent. I mean, it's just vague promises of cash and moral purity. But his followers, they don't care about the policy details.
It's not about policy.
Not at all. What grips them is the powerful emotional reassurance he provides, that sense of identity.
And that emotional appeal, that's critical. It shows up immediately on the media battleground.
And absolutely.
You have the local liberal editor, Doremus Jessup, and he makes this fatal error of just underestimating the whole thing.
He assumes reason will prevail, that the institutions will just hold.
Right. But then you contrast him with these mass media enablers, like that popular radio preacher, Bishop Paul Peter Prang.
Prang is the perfect example. He's a master at fusing this feeling of moral certainty with, pure partisan propaganda. He turns resentment into a movement.
So it's a unified movement before a shot is even fired.
And this leads to what I think is Lewis's most unsettling revelation, which is about the psychology of drift.
Drift?
Yeah, he argues that dictatorship doesn't just happen overnight. It happens because ordinary people quietly adjust to these creeping abuses.
They just convince themselves it's temporary.
That it's temporary, or that the system will fix itself. So they just wait on the sidelines. And you see how dark that gets with a character like Shad Ledoux.
The hired man?
The resentful hired man who uses the new regime to weaponize his own personal grudges. He becomes a local enforcer.
Oh, so the state is actually weaponizing basic personal resentment? That feels far more chilling than just relying on military force.
It is. And this drift is reinforced by a couple of psychological concepts Lewis just nails. First, there's preference falsification.
Okay, what's that?
It's where citizens start actively hiding what they truly believe in public because they're afraid of the social or professional backlash.
Which then creates a spiral of silence.
Exactly. The majority who might oppose the regime feel totally isolated, so they become even less likely to speak out. You start to believe you're the only one who sees the problem.
So in this environment of silence and fear, control isn't just about force. The regime starts enforcing these really rigid cultural roles to cement its power. It glorifies this aggressive, militarized male toughness, with groups like the Minutemen.
Right. And at the same time, you have figures like Adelaide Tarr-Gimmich, who are out there actively campaigning to strip away women's rights.
Tying true womanhood to submission and staying in the home?
But those marginalized people are often the ones who find the greatest capacity for resistance. I mean, just look at Doremus Jessup's journey.
He goes from this complacent editor
to an imprisoned dissident, and then finally a fugitive trying to organize an underground network. It's a profound change.
And the women in the novel resist in such complex ways, often taking even greater risks.
Huge risks. You have Lorinda Pike, who is instrumental in the underground, and then someone like Mary Greenhill, who ends up taking violent military action herself.
So the picture of resistance isn't heroic and clean.
Not at all. The story's picture is that resistance is fragmented, it's messy, it's characterized by tactical failures and just staggeringly high personal losses.
And I think that's the core literary message that really sticks with you. Lewis refuses to give us a neat cinematic victory where the strong man is defeated by the final page.
No clean win.
No. He shows that even after the regime falls, the really difficult work of rebuilding democracy, that local resistance, the ethical heavy lifting, just continues. The story ends very pointedly with the resistance still in progress. So that's the final question we want to leave you with. What does it mean for a novel about democracy's fragility to end with resistance in progress rather than neatly resolved? And how might that uncertainty, shape your thinking about your own civic responsibilities today?
I think Lewis is teaching us that the fate of democracy hinges less on the actions of great men and much more on those uncomfortable daily choices. The moments you choose not to drift, not to participate in the silence, and to stand up, that choice is constantly being made, including by you.